Today I'm going to be doing a build that focuses on first, paralyzing our enemies, and then second, capitalizing on Paralysis's unique effect, where we get automatic criticals when we hit them with a melee attack. So yeah, step 1, paralyze them. Step 2, nuke the crap out of them. This is the Butcher. I assume you're similar to me in that you like money. And personally, what I'm about to share with you saved me $802.92 per year. I was paying $81.91 per month for my unlimited phone plan until I switched over to the sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If you sign up for Mint Mobile before the end of October, then you can get what I got, which is unlimited phone plan for $15 a month. Now, if you're watching this video after the end of October, then you can still get the same plan for $30 a month, which is still way better than $82 a month. But if you're among the lucky few who are watching this before the end of October, you can get the phone plan for $15 a month. I personally made the switch and it was way easier than I thought it was. They even let you keep your phone number if you want to. And I've been using it for about a month now, and I gotta say, it is no different than the expensive one. It is the exact same thing. It just costs way less. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. So if you guys are interested, we have a link in the description down below. Go ahead and save yourself a boatload of money. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the build. To start off this build, I'm going to start off with our Lineage. We are going to be going half orc. The reason why is half orc gives us savage attacks. Every time we attack an enemy and we get a critical hit, we get to add an additional dice to that damage. And we're automatically getting critical hits. This means that we're going to be changing our D12 to 2D12 because it's a crit, to 3D12 because we're an orc. And by the way, we're going to be using a great axe to capitalize on the orc's ability. Our leveling structure sets us up to both capitalize and create the paralyzed condition. Our first level is going into Fighter. Our next 3 levels are going into the Shadow Soul Sorcerer. Then we're going to grab another level of Fighter, then another 3 levels of Shadow Soul Sorcerer. Then we're going to grab 2 levels of Fighter, and the remainder go into Shadow Soul Sorcerer. A little bit complicated, but we'll get into why as we go through. As for our stat array, our primary is going to be Charisma, followed by our secondary in Strength, which we want to get to 16. I mean, we need at least 15 for the heavy armor, but why not go to 16 at that point? And from there, the remainder will be put into Constitution. Now, this first level into Fighter is really an investment level so that we can have heavy armor. We're going to be getting Constitution saves, we're going to be getting a fighting style, which we're going to take the defensive fighting style, we're going to get our heavy armor, and we're just basically going to put together our defenses on this first level. This is also a great time to pick up our great axe, so we're going to be very much so a martial this first level. And it's actually nice going into Fighter instead of Sorcerer for our first level because we capitalize on getting more HP out the gate, which is going to help buffer our HP throughout our career. Now, an alternative to the defensive fighting style is actually going the great weapon. This lets us re-rolls when we roll a 1 or 2 on our great axe attacks, which is pretty nice. It comes out to an average of about 1 damage. However, once you start getting crits, you're doing more weapon die, so you get to re-roll it more often. So it gets a bit better, about 3 times as good once we are capitalizing on our critical hits. Is that better than the defensive fighting style? I don't know, but there is a bit of a niche here to explore the great weapon fighting style if you'd like to. At level 2, we're going to go into Sorcerer, and that's going to give us Strength of the Grave. Strength of the Grave is really interesting because it mixes with Relentless Endurance from being an orc. We have 2 different features that can have us survive when we're taken below 1 HP. Now, the first one we want to use is Strength of the Grave because it doesn't automatically happen. We have to make a save. If we succeed the save, then we get to keep our Relentless Endurance for the next time we have to do it. But if it fails, then we can still use Relentless Endurance to stay strong. So yeah, Strength of the Grave first. I'm going to be picking up fairly typical first level spells. Shield and Absorb elements stand out to me, and that's especially good since we're kind of faking being a martial right now. But our really next big level is Sorcerer 3 or our level 4. The reason why is we're going to get second level spells. We're going to pick up a crucial spell, surprising no one, Hold Person. We're also going to get our meta magic options, and I'm going to be taking the Quicken spell, which is absolutely important, as well as Seeking spell, which can be big for us as well. That'll happen a bit later. So let's talk about some of the options we have. Well, on this level, we can Quicken, Hold Person, and then use Booming Blade. Booming Blade we get from being Sorcerer, of course, makes our great axe attacks even better, and as it increases in dice, the critical damage is going to increase with it, so that's very good. But right now, our bread and butter is Quicken, Hold Person, clamp them down, and then we smack them with a big Booming Blade attack right away. Fantastic. And now at level 5, we're going to go into Fighter 2. This is going to allow us to Quicken, Hold Person, and then we get to Booming Blade, Action Surge, Booming Blade. Booming Blade also gets another D8 at this level, so we're doing 3d12 plus 2d8 on those critical hits, and we get to make 2 of them on our action surge attack. That's a lot of damage. Now at level 6, we're going to be going into Sorcerer 4. We're going to be picking up an ASI. This ASI is going to be going into Shadow Touched, assuming that we have an odd charisma, which is what we were hoping for. If not, you're just going to be bumping up charisma, but Shadow Touch is going to be great here because it's going to give us not only invisibility, which is a great utility spell, but it's also going to give us Inflict Wounds. Inflict Wounds synergizes with this build exceptionally well. Why? Well, think about our last combo where we can quick and hold person and then booming blade. We can do something similar here. Now there's a couple different ways to set this up. The first is you actually hold your hold person action until after someone's turn is done. That way they only get 1 save before your turn instead of 2. Now there are risks to this. It's considered concentration, so you can break your concentration, or they can move out of the range and you just waste a spell slot, but the benefits are huge. If you do manage to set this up correctly, you'll cast hold person after the enemy's turn is done, so on your turn you're guaranteed to get some critical hit options, and this is where you can run up and Inflict Wounds, action surge, Inflict Wounds. Inflict Wounds is going to be doing 33 damage on average per attack when you're attacking a paralyzed enemy, and that increases by 11 for every spell level we upcast it at. So we can go for some nuclear damage here by dropping 2 3rd level spells. We can be doing like 110 damage on average on our nuke turn. Yes, it requires a lot of resources, but most things aren't going to survive 110 damage when you consider that the rest of our team is attacking them while they're paralyzed as well. This is why we picked up the Seeking spell. Even though we have advantage on our attacks, using Inflict Wounds, Seeking spell virtually guarantees that our attack is going to land, and it's worth spending the points to make sure that it lands, especially when we're upcasting it. That's a lot of setup, and maybe you're not in a situation where you want to do that, so what you can do is you can hold person using your action, then you can action surge, go for Inflict Wounds, so there are other options that we can do all on our turn to do a bunch of damage. Another great call out here that, you're probably not going to want to hear is that because hold person is such a big save, Silvery Barbs is going to be a great 1st level spammable spell that we can use to make the rest of our strategy a lot more consistent. Yeah, it's a cracked spell, we all know. At level 7, we get level 5 into Sorcerer, and this gives us our incredible 3rd level spells, which is going to give us a ton of optionality for both crowds when there's too many people for our hold person to do its job well, and also to manage situations where we're not fighting a humanoid. Non-humanoids are a weakness of this build because we can only paralyze humanoids, so in those cases that will come up where we're fighting monstrosities and whatnot, you can focus on other spells and other strategies. Even taking other alternative 2nd level spells like Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, for example, that has a similar effect to hold person but can work on a bunch of other creatures, is a great option to add, and we can still do a lot of cool combos with Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. We just don't get the automatic crits. Level 8, level 6 in Sorcerer is another big level for us because we get the Hound of Ill Omen. The Hound of Ill Omen is going to cost some sorcery points, but it's going to stick to an enemy like glue, make it so they have disadvantage on their saves against hold person, and then not only that, they have a Direwolf stat block and they attack the enemy, so they're going to get crits with their melee attacks, but Direwolves also knock enemies prone if they fail a strength save, and you automatically fail strength and dex saves if you're paralyzed, so we're automatically knocking them prone, so even when they're not paralyzed anymore, get out of paralysis and they have to stay on the ground for another full turn where everyone's getting advantage, and then on the next turn their movement's hampered. Great synergy with this build. Level 9, we're going into Rune Knight Fighter. Rune Knight Fighter has a ton of synergies here that are really powerful. Synergy number 1 is that when we go big, we deal some extra damage with our weapon attacks, which are going to compound with the crits, and they're going to deal extra damage as well. Similarly, when we use the Fire Rune, it also gets crit damage because it's part of our weapon attack as well. Another 2d6, so that will be 4d6, so that's great synergy there. But on top of that, they have to make a save to resist the Fire Rune, and they automatically fail the save because they're paralyzed. So now they're restrained and taking additional damage every single turn, and they didn't get a save to stop it. So even if they broke out of the paralysis condition, they're still in the restrained condition. Awesome synergies. Ton of damage output. And that's before even mentioning all the other things that Rune Knight does. You can take Cloud Rune, which can help buffer your concentration save, and there's a niche situation. This probably is up to DM interpretation, but if you're in melee with an enemy who's paralyzed and someone comes and melee attacks you, and they're also in melee of the same enemy as you are, you can use Cloud Rune to get a crit against their attack on that enemy. I'm pretty sure. Whether or not that's true, up to your DM, correct me if I'm wrong. But if that is the case, then there are niche situations where you can make an enemy nuke their ally, which I think is pretty funny. Now, at this point, you're probably realizing that just our normal attacks with Booming Blade are better than Inflict Wounds at its first level, which is true. So you're going to mix more of those attacks in there and be upcasting Inflict Wounds more if you're going for that Uber nuke. At level 11, we're getting an ASI, probably going to be rounding out our Charisma, but if you've already gotten it to 20, I'm going to be looking at Warcaster. Not only is it going to give us advantage on our concentration checks, which is great, it also gives us really strong Booming Blade opportunity attacks, which we're going to enjoy doing with our Great Axe. So yeah, our Booming Blades hit hard. From here on out, we go back into Sorcerer for the remainder. We get a lot more spell slots to be casting and upcasting Hold Person and Inflict Wounds, and we're going to be doing the same thing. We're also going to eventually get Hold Monster, which allows us to paralyze monstrosities as well to continue this strategy. If this campaign is going really late, you might want to consider not grabbing an ASI from Fighter so you can eventually get those 9th level spells if you're going to 20th level so you can pick up Wish and whatnot. But if it's going to be like normal campaigns and you're not going that deep, that early ASI is a big strength bump. In any case, this was a lot of fun to build. Hope you guys enjoyed it. What would you guys do with your Paralysis Specialist? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, check out the Mint link. It has saved me a ton of money. I want you guys to save money, and it sucked to miss the opportunity. So check it out. But with that, my friends, hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.